Hey, yo, everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video. And this is going to be a first impressions video for the new Stargirl TV series, particularly its pilot episode, which is the only episode we've had out so far. This series can be seen currently on the DC Universe app, but eventually will go over to the CW. I forget what date, but it will be on both platforms. DC Universe app first, then to TV afterwards. I do have my Justice League Beginner's Guide ready to go for you guys. I was going to put it out today, but I saw Stargirl was available to watch, so I just watched it. And I figured I might as well do a quick first impressions of the TV show, seeing that we only had the pilot episode, and kind of throw that out there first, and then put out the Justice League video a little bit later. Now, Stargirl. Right? There's a lot of things to tackle with this show. Before I actually tackle it, I might as well talk about where I stand with the DC comic TV shows. Because DC has hit kind of its stride, like a silver age, like a renaissance of TV shows in the past 10 or so years. Ever since really the end of Smallville, or even a little bit beforehand. Because for the longest time, we didn't have too much in ways of TV shows for DC Comics. Yeah, we had Smallville. Even earlier, we had Birds of Prey. But they just didn't have that superhero feeling to it that we all knew and loved. And then along comes Arrow, and the Arrowverse is born, and we have Arrow and Flash and Supergirl and DC Legends of Tomorrow, as well as we get the DC Universe TV shows that come out, Titans, Doom Patrol, so on and so forth. It's just, there's been such a plethora of TV shows that it's actually become a bit overwhelming for me. Now, I, for the most part, stay relatively on point with the DC Universe shows that come out, like Titans or like Doom Patrol. I find it a little bit easier to do because they're not quite as constant as the CW shows. As with the CW shows, I have taken a bit of a break on, just because it's tough to keep up with it. I was a season behind DC Legend of Tomorrow's. I was 2 seasons behind Black Lightning. I was barely keeping up with Flash. I stopped caring about Arrow after the crossover event. Supergirl, I think the quality of Supergirl has dipped down quite a bit. And I was watching Batwoman pretty religiously, but eventually I kind of dropped off on that too. And it's, we can talk about quality of the shows or how good they've been and how bad they've been, but really it's just I've been overwhelmed with so many shows to watch. Too many shows, to say the least. Like, literally, if I was to watch everything, right, including the DC Universe stuff, just off the top of my head, you got Flash, Arrow, which is now, Green Arrow and the Black Canaries, right? You got DC Legends of Tomorrow, Black Lightning, Supergirl, Batgirl, Batwoman. So you got those 6 there, plus Titans, or Doom Patrol, or whatever show's being rotated. So that's the 7th hour, and now Stargirl. So that's 8 hours worth of television a week. I can't even commit 8 hours to myself, let alone to television. It's just overwhelming. So after the Crisis on Infinite Earths, I decided to take a step back, get some breathing room, and I'll catch up on the CW shows when they come out on the Netflix, or maybe eventually on the Universe app. Again, that's not to say that the shows are bad, although I do believe some shows' qualities have gone up, and some shows' qualities have gone down, some have stayed pretty consistent, but it's so overwhelming. And then I heard Stargirl was going to be brought into the mix. First, she was going to be exclusively on the Universe app, but now she's also going to be a CW show. And I had mixed feelings, because I like Stargirl as a character. I always kind of saw her prolifically. Terrible with words. But I always kind of saw her on the side, right? I never read her actual individual comic. I've always read the teams she was on. Justice Society, Justice League of America, Justice League United, so on and so forth. So I've always kind of read her stuff on the side as her as a team character, or in crossover events. I've always enjoyed the character. I also know the backstory of the character fairly well, and also the origins. And I'm not talking about the superhero origins. I'm talking about the origins and how important that character is to Jeff Johns, one of her creators, and really the executive producer and the biggest pusher of this TV show. So I thought there was a lot of potential, but boy, could I really make enough time for another DC show, right? On top of all the other shows I watch. So the answer is kind of, maybe. It makes it a little bit easier seeing that I'm not watching the other shows, but is Stargirl worth my time, I guess the question is. And we only got one episode. So I'm going to just quickly run through the things I like, and then I'll throw out any things I don't like, right? Ready, set, go. Number one, I thought the acting was really good through what I consider the three most prominent lead characters. Brett Bassinger, I believe her name is a spot-on Stargirl. I think that she looks the part. She's really good vernacularly, a good auditor. She knows how to act. She is 20 years old, but she looks like she could be 16 or 15. So she kind of embodies that really well. And she really kind of embodies the nature of the character. Luke Wilson, I thoroughly enjoyed. As Stripey, I think he's got that geeky nerdiness to him, as well as kind of adorable patheticness. But not saying he's pathetic, right? It just, he's got that good feel to him. He's generally a good guy. Amy Smart, who I didn't even know was in her 40s. I thought she was still in her 20s. Amy Smart comes in as Courtney's mother, and the screen time that she gets, she actually plays the role of a mother pretty well. We got some other characters in there, as well as Joe McHale, who plays Starman. On a whole, I think the acting was solid through and through. Felt natural, felt good. There were no hiccups. Right. I also like the adherence to continuity and trying to make things as comic book accurate as possible. Seeing the Justice Society, and not just in, the beginning of the pilot episode, the first 10 minutes is the Justice Society and kind of what happened to them. But you only see Starman, Dr. Midnight, Wildcat, Hourman, I believe, those four, because 3 of them are going to turn into legacy characters later in the series. But there's also the rest of the Justice Society that we see in the picture. So we know that there's Hawkman and Hawkgirl, and we know that there's Sandman, and we know that there's Jay Garrick Flash. I don't know if I saw Alan Scott Green Lantern, but you see the rest of the Justice Society minus like Power Girl, really, and it's kind of cool to see that not only do they stick to this continuity and try to make it as comic book faithful as possible, but the costumes are comic book faithful. I know that's a silly thing to focus on, but it's not. I'm sick and tired of seeing my superheroes show up and wear a t-shirt that is the color of what their regular costume is, and then maybe a leather jacket, and maybe a domino mask. It's silly. That's one of the things about Smallville that kind of ticked me off, is he was the blur for so much. And I get why they did that, right? Legal reasons. But on the whole, it's good to see that there's a comic book accuracy with the suits. The CGI that we see is on point, especially when Stripe shows up in the giant robot. And the villains are pretty menacing too. So those are the good stuff, and the episode was paced out pretty well. Bad stuff, not much. Minor nitpicking. I know who Solomon Grundy is. I know who these bad guys that Stargirl is in the Justice Society are basically going up against. I don't think a lot of people would, and I don't think they do a good enough job to make them recognizable for the general audience. Again, I can get away with it, but can you? That's the question, right? These aren't Two-Face. It's not the Joker. It's not Lex Luthor. These aren't the biggest names. As much as I, just take Grundy, for example. As much as I like Grundy and I feel like he's his mainstay in DC Comics, if I ask my wife who Solomon Grundy, she doesn't even know who that is. But if I asked her who the Riddler is, she would. So if you have villains that you're using lesser-known villains, I would just push them being a little bit more recognizable. Number 2, high school is not that bad. High school can be shitty. Don't get me wrong, there's bullies in high school, there's shitheads in high school, but most importantly about high school is most kids don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about anything other than themselves. I think the trope of having the new kid come in and everyone being an asshole to them is just overplayed too much. And this isn't a knock just to Stargirl, this is a knock to like everything. It's stupid. Actually, in my experience, which granted, high school was, I'm 33. Yeah, so well over 18 years ago, right? The start of high school. High school wasn't like that for me. I was a geek. I was an outcast. I was definitely not popular, but I was not shunned or hated. If anything, when you're a new kid, a lot of people try to bring you in and try to make friends with you. So I think the whole trope of the shitty kind of town with the shitty kind of school is a little too shitty overdone. But besides that, the pilot episode was really good. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it enough that I am intrigued for episode 2, and I'm willing to keep going. I think the thing that really kind of brought me in is the main character of Stargirl, Courtney, played by Breck Bassinger. I hope I don't butcher her name. But she's done a really good job with the main character. And when you have a solid main character and a good supporting cast, everything else can come together. Do I recommend watching this? Absolutely. If you have the DC Universe app, hit it up. Watch it tonight. It's a fun watch. She doesn't get a costume yet. She doesn't become full Stargirl in the first pilot episode. Spoiler warning. But it feels like it's a slow burn. It's a 13-episode series, and it's kind of in the same theme as Titans, right? I think this is going to be a great show when you watch as a whole, but individually it's something that you got to get through. But it was a fun watch. I would say based solely on one episode, ready? I would say it's better than Supergirl, better than Batwoman, better than Black Lightning, better than DC Legends of Tomorrow, but not as good as, say, Flash, Arrow, Titans, Doom Patrol. Am I missing anything? Not probably equal to Constantine, but again, this is the first episode. So, with that being said, I would like to know your opinions on this show, right? Put it down below. Let me know. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Where do you stand on it? In addition to that, obviously, you got my social media, Instagram. You got your TikToks. You got your Twitters. You got your Facebooks. And I know I've been throwing it out there, but your boy's out of a job. Patreon, if you want to support this channel. If you want me to continue to do videos. More importantly, if you want me to be able to eat and provide for my family. No guilt involved. I'm just playing around with that. No guilt involved. But if you want to support me in the channel, please toss $1. If it's just $1, this way to your boy, that would be amazing, right? I will post out the Justice League Beginner's Guide tomorrow or Wednesday, one of the two. And I got more videos down the line that I'm going to be pumping out. And follow me on Twitter because I will be putting up a poll for what my next video, my next kind of, I want to say, more thoughtful video will be. The ones that I put a little bit more effort into. Not to say that I don't put effort in these videos, because this is literally just off the cuff. I have not thought through this as basically first impressions. But please, I'll be putting up a poll sometime this week on what the next topic will be. With that said, this is Andrew saying, peace out for now.